Good start. Welcome, everyone. We will be starting in a few minutes here, once everyone's able to join. Thank you for joining us this evening for our webinar, How to Determine if a Franchise is Right for You. This is being presented by SCORE, North Cook and Lake Counties chapter. The presenter is Paige Peavler, and Paige is an expert in the area of franchises. And so those of you who are very interested in franchise will get a lot of good information here. So Paige, you want to go to the next slide for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
So a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is what we call a nonprofit resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. That's a lot of words, but what it says is we're not a government agency, but we are funded by a government agency. And so then here's the slide that I prefer to focus on. SCORE has an amazing impact on small business in this country here. So SCORE has been around since 1964. It has helped more than 11 million entrepreneurs grow and start their business. And so an interesting tidbit here is that the amount SCORE returns to the federal treasury for every federal dollar appropriated to SCORE. In other words, the federal government gives us money and we help people start businesses. So we have started 197 new businesses, created 866 new jobs, and this is all last year. Had 4,600 customer services. What the amount returned to the treasury says is that when they give us $1, we give them back $41.98 in terms of fees and taxation and those sorts of things related to small business in terms of growing the economy. So we're for the government. We're I think probably one of the better investments that they have here. You want to go to the next slide, Paige? So SCORE provides one-on-one mentoring. We do that in person. We do that online, depending on the needs of the mentors and the clients. We provide workshops such as this, seminars, events. We have events in the community here with local libraries, chambers of commerce. And we also have an amazing amount of tools and templates on our website at score.org. You can find anything from business plans to financial templates to marketing plans, and everything is free for you to download and to look at. And in our chapter, North Cook and Lake Counties, we have about 70 mentors. And so to request a mentor, just go to our website. And what'll happen is, here's the URL, score.org/North Chicago. And then you can see the request a mentor. And what will happen is that it'll be sent to a form, you'll fill out some information, and then a mentor will contact you within 2 or 3 business days. And let's see, you want to go to the next slide? So here's our legal disclaimer. All opinions expressed herein are those of the authors and don't necessarily reflect the views of the SBA, as if anyone had any doubts about that. And so, Paige, why don't you take it away? I will put myself on mute and stop my video. I do want to say that we have a chat here, and you can put your thoughts in the chat. We also have a Q&A, which is helpful for us, because if you have a question, you can put it in there, and then we can either answer it real time, or Paige will answer it a little bit later on after the session here. So please do that, and we will, Paige, we will take it away, and we'll be back for the question and answer after your session. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much, John. Well, welcome everyone. I'm very excited to be here with SCORE tonight. My name is Paige Peavler. I'm the CEO of Fran Kids Consulting. I have over 20 years of franchise experience, and you'll see at the bottom here, 4 of the companies that I have worked for over the last 20 some odd years, I have opened franchise locations all over the world. The only continent I have not opened on is Antarctica, believe it or not. I've advised hundreds of franchise owners and those who are looking to purchase a franchise. And just, I am a normal mom. I'm a volleyball mom, I'm a dog mom, and I love to cook. So that's just a little bit about me.
Paige, your video is not on. I don't know if that's on
It won't
purpose.
it won't let me. It says
Oh,
it's unable to start. So yeah, sadly, I
okay.
don't know why. It says the host has stopped it. So I don't
Yeah, okay.
that
Sorry
means.
about that. Let me see if
Sorry,
I
all. You don't get to see I even put lipstick on tonight, kids, but that's all right. All right. So I want to talk about what is a franchise. You all might know a little bit about it, but really what it is it's a system in which an individual buys the rights to open and operate a business under the brand and guidance of an established company. Many of these here, as you see, are franchises. So the person who buys these rights is known as the franchisee, and the company that they're purchasing them from is the franchisor. So, in exchange for these rights to operate the business, the franchisee pays an initial fee and then ongoing royalties to the franchisor, and they agree to conduct business in line with the franchisor's model and standards. So, really, when you go to your local McDonald's, it more than likely is owned by a franchisee. Same thing with a UPS store, a Kumon. There are thousands of franchises in our country. So, what are the advantages of purchasing a franchise? Well, it's a proven business model. It's tested and established business system by the franchisor. You can avoid mistakes because you're kind of following their playbook. They've done this for a long time, hopefully, and following their system will really help you instead of trying to start from scratch. Also, there's brand recognition. An established brand name often has already built-in customer loyalty, which results in immediate credibility, which saves you time and money to build brand awareness. And then there's training and support. Most franchises provide initial training, if not ongoing training, as well as ongoing support. You would have field team members who work for the franchisor to come out and meet with you and help you, be mentors, be a shoulder to lean on when you're not sure what you should be doing next. And finally, economies of scale. You can benefit from the bulk purchasing power that a franchisor has in order to purchase your inventory, any supplies you might need, marketing supplies, and that leads to reduced costs and increased profitability. And then there's a lower risk of failure here. There's a higher rate of success due to the brand recognition and support. And investors and lenders, they actually view franchises as less risky, which makes it easier to secure financing, which is a really big part of purchasing a franchise. I think we're going to stop here. Do you want to go ahead and add the poll, John, or is that on
yeah.
the side here?
Yep,
Okay.
I can do that right
So there's
now.
a really quick poll that we'd love to ask everybody. You should see it come up on your screen. And if you can just answer these questions, that would be great.
So the questions are, have you considered purchasing franchise? Yes or no? And then what type of franchise concept would you be interested in? And that has several different options here: food, retail, fitness, business services, education, or other. So we've got people answering the polls now. And the last question is, what stage of business are you currently in? Thinking about starting a business? I've been in business for 1 to 5 years, or I've been in business over 5 years. So I believe, let me look here. I believe we have got a lot of good response here. And so I will end the poll, and then we should be able to share the results with you here.
Oh, okay, great.
So can you see those now?
I can. This is very interesting. So good. A fair amount of you have considered it. And it looks like, interestingly enough, education is winning out here with 38% of the of the population here on our call. And then about 50% of you are thinking about starting a new business. So that's great. This gives me a good idea of what it is that you're interested in. And certainly education is kind of near and dear to my heart, as it's where I've spent a lot of my franchise years. So thanks so much, John, for doing that. And we'll move on, because this gives me a good idea of what everybody's interested in.
Here we go.
So, before you do any business venture, you have to find your why. And I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but it's a really important thing. It's basically finding out why you want to do what you do. Why are you wanting to start a business? Simon Sinek, if you're not familiar with him, is just great. He is a great kind of business philosopher, if you will. If you haven't seen him, you should go to YouTube and check him out. But this little snippet here tells you kind of how to find your why, which is probably not the way you're thinking you're going to. So I'm going to play it real quick for you, and then we'll discuss.
Call your friends you love. The ones who you know that if you called them at 3 o'clock in the morning, they would answer the phone. And if they called you at 3 o'clock in the morning, you would be there for them. Do not do this with family. Do not do this with siblings. Do not do this with your spouse. It doesn't work. Those relationships are too close. Do it with the friends you love. And ask them the simple question: why are we friends? And they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Because the part of the brain that controls feelings and behavior doesn't control language. In other words, it's hard to put into words. Ironically, you stop asking the question why, because the question why is an emotional question and it elicits emotional responses. Like you ask your kids, why are you home late? Shut up, Dad. But if you say, what were you doing that you're home late? They'll answer the question, right? So you after your friends say, why are you asking me this? You switch to what question? Come on, what is it about me? What specifically is it about me that I know that you would be there for me no matter what? And they're going to hem and haw, and it's going to be very difficult for them, and they're going to struggle. Don't help them. Don't let anybody else help them. You have to let them go through the uncomfortable process, and you have to play devil's advocate. So they'll say things like, I don't know, you're funny, you're smart, I can rely on you. And you say, good, that's the definition of a friend. You have that with all your friends. What specifically is it about me that I know you would be there for me no matter what? And they're going to go through this process of, and you're going to say, good, that's the definition of a close friend. What you're going to keep at them, and eventually they'll give up. Eventually they'll give up, and they'll stop describing you, and they'll start describing themselves. And this is what my friend said to me. They said, I don't know, Simon. All I know is that I can just sit in a room with you. I don't even have to talk to you, and I feel inspired. And I got goosebumps. In fact, I'm getting them right now, right? So what they did is they articulated my value in their lives, and I had an emotional response. So you'll get to the point where they'll say something that you will either get goosebumps or you'll well up with tears, or something will happen. You will have an emotional response. That's the part of the brain, the limbic brain, that controls those emotions. You won't get the exact words of your why, but you will get in the ballpark. And my friends, what you'll find is if you do it with multiple friends, you'll get very similar, if not the exact same answer, because the value you have in their lives is the same. It's you. So it's a fun way to find your why.
All right. So now you know. But here's the thing. Why is it critical to find your why when you're about to start a new business venture? Because it gives you motivation and resilience. Your why acts as a driving force during challenging times, because let's face it, when you start a new business, whether you purchase a franchise or you start from scratch, there's going to be many obstacles and setbacks. And having your why, your passion, your heart, it reminds you of the core reason you started, providing the motivation to continue going even when the going gets tough. Secondly, it's guided decision-making. So understanding why you're doing what you're doing, it's going to align with your core values and your long-term objectives. And it acts as a moral compass, really, directing you towards the actions that are going to resonate with your mission and away from distractions. And then thirdly, it's an authentic connection with customers. When you operate from a genuine why, customers can really sense that authenticity and passion behind your brand. And I'll tell you a little story. When I worked for School of Rock and I started the very first one here in the Chicagoland area, parents would come in, and I was not a great salesperson, but I believed so much in what we were doing that I could sign parents up left and right because they could see that I was passionate about it. And that's what differentiates you from your competitors who may lack a clear purpose or maybe not even care about what business they're in. So if you've kind of determined what your why and your passion is, then why should you purchase a franchise? What's the point, right? Well, ownership pride. According to the 2022 survey by Franchise Business Review, 88% of franchise owners purchased a franchise in order to be their own boss. And that's right after the pandemic. And honestly, it hasn't stopped. And in particular, women and, are actually growing even more than that. Women franchise owners will probably be about at 45% in the next 5 years, which is huge. It's also a steady income stream. If you're seeking a more predictable income compared to starting a business from scratch because you're going with a tried and true method, it's very steady. As long as you do what they tell you to do and not kind of deviate from that path. It may be a career transition for you. Maybe you're wanting to utilize the skills that you've got from maybe you come from corporate America, maybe you've come from the service industry, but you want to be your own boss. You've got a desire for change and new challenges. It could be that you want to do it for your community. Maybe you have seen a need in your community for a service or a product that is not offered, and you can offer it. And not only that, you can employ local people and contribute to the economy and your specific community. And finally, legacy building. We see this a lot actually in franchising where, parents will establish a business really so that they can pass it down to the next generation. They want to create jobs for their kids, which is great. As long as you make sure the kids want to do it, but it's a great reason to do it. Lots of multi-unit franchise owners are doing it, and a lot of their kids are actually working in the business and learning how to do it so that when their parents decide to step away, they can step into those roles. So some things to consider when you're thinking about purchasing a franchise. Why do you want to purchase a franchise? And we kind of already discussed that. But then skill set. What skills do you bring to a franchise business? And it could be intangibles. I really like to talk to people. I will talk your ear off at the grocery store. Maybe you're similar. Maybe you love donuts and you just want to share donuts with everybody, whatever it may be. But also the other thing that you need to think about is what kind of owner will you be? Or do you want to be? Because there's several different types. There's an owner operator. Well, you're in this, you're in it every single day working it. Or you might be a sideline owner where you've actually hired managers to operate your business for you. And then initially, finally, you might become a multi-unit owner, meaning you've loved this business so much. You're going to expand and you're going to have a little empire of your own. But in order to do all of those things, the first thing you need to do is create a 1-year, a 3-year, and a 5-year plan of your business vision. Now, this is not to be confused with a business plan that you would share with like a lender, but really this is for yourself. You need to think about, okay, year 1, if I purchase a franchise, what are my goals? Year 3, what are my goals? By year 5, what's my profitability going to look like? And honestly, you also have to think about your exit strategy. Many franchisees don't do this. And unfortunately, life sometimes gets in the way and you have to exit your franchise for reasons that you did not anticipate. Or the franchise, you've had it for a good 10 years, you're getting on and you're looking to exit. There's nothing wrong with that. You should always think about what your exit strategy is going to be. I know it seems strange to talk about that at the very start of it, but you have to have that in the back of your mind. The other really big thing that I urge you to really think about is your work-life balance. Time commitment. Most franchises demand more than a 9 to 5 commitment. And if you're first starting out, it's going to be long days, I promise you. The other thing too is you want to talk to if you've got a life partner, you need to talk to them. You need to let them be aware that you're going to be doing this and their support will mean everything to you. If they're not supportive, you may need to take a step back, and there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing is that, there is some operational flexibility. Some franchises offer more autonomy than others. There's franchises that you can work from home for, which is great. But again, do you want to be hands-on, or are you going to have a manager run the day-to-day? And this is important. It's important from a profitability standpoint. If you're running your business, great, then you might be paying yourself. But if you're not running your business and hiring someone else, you definitely have to pay salary. And in these days and times, you might even have to think about some benefits so that you get really good employees. All of that will take away from your initial profitability. Holidays and weekends. Some businesses like UPS, they peak during the holidays. They are jamming. Are you willing to work those times? Is that going to be okay with you? So you really do have to honestly evaluate your personal time and your commitment to ensure that there's harmony between your work and personal life. And I can't stress it enough. I've worked with so many franchisees who, at one point say, I don't know why I did this. I did not think this through. And it's an awful lot of time and money and resources. Think it through before you do anything. So you've got your why. You kind of understand why you want to purchase a franchise. And you've worked all of the work-life balance and you're ready to step into this. So now comes the research. Research. You cannot do enough research, honestly. You have to research your passion versus your profit. So you might be really passionate about, your donut shop, all right, which is really great, but you need to ensure that there's a market in your community for it. I see a lot of franchisees, they don't actually own their franchise in their market. They own it outside of their market, which is another kind of big challenge, if you will. But you need to ensure that there's a market demand wherever you think that you're going to open this location. You also have to look at the industry growth. You got to research the industry's growth trajectory. Is it a fad or does it have long-term potential? So many of you might remember the sip and paint places, which honestly, that was it was a franchise. And many of them have closed because honestly, it was a fad. It was really fun to go and paint a picture and drink some wine, but really after you did it once, nobody really did it a second time. So that's really hard to sustain, right? Do your skills complement your chosen industry? And we talked a little bit about that before. So if you've got skills, if you can work a mean P&L or, you're an Excel spreadsheet whiz and you're going to open an accounting franchise, awesome. But if you are really looking to open like a bakery and you've never baked the first thing, then you probably need to go gain some experience before purchasing, because you need to figure out if you're going to really like day in and day out baking or whatever it may be, dry cleaning, or hardware, whatever it may be. So if you don't have skills in that area, then I would suggest that you gain some experience before you actually sign on the dotted line. Another really critical factor is the franchisor support. As you start to look into these franchises, you want to make sure that your franchisor, they have great training up front. They should have ongoing training, even if you're 3 years in. They should have great marketing and operations, because you're going to be paying for their technologies. That's not part of your franchise fee, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But you need to make sure that they have a great support system. That's going to be really critical. And it's amazing how many franchisors do not have very good support systems. And this is going to be important. If you're going to put all of this time and money into it, you want to make sure that they have your back. So reach out to the franchisors that you're interested in. You need to ask them for demographic information, which goes back to, can your market sustain a new whatever it may be? Because they will be happy to give you the demographic information for your community. And the other thing you should ask is for a list of franchisees to speak to. Now, I will give you a little secret about this. Franchisors will give you a list of franchisees to talk to, and they're going to give you the franchisees that they love. They're not going to give you the franchisees who maybe have a little bit of a beef with the franchisor. So this is where you're going to have to do a little bit more research. You're going to have to start to reach out to franchisees who perhaps, are not on that list, and get the real information, because they'll tell you whether they're getting support. They'll give you an honest answer. Now, they don't have to talk to you at all. It's not required. But more than likely, most franchisees are happy to discuss their experience with that franchisor. The other thing you want to ask the franchisor is, can I open more locations? I love this so much, I'm going to open more. What does that look like? And is there territorial protection? And territorial protection is really even like, you guys see the Dunkin' Donuts everywhere, right? Well, how close can a Dunkin' Donuts be to another Dunkin' Donuts? The franchisors will tell you. So you need to think about those things, because your competition may be a franchisee who owns the same franchise that you do. And you want to find out how the franchisor really handles that. So what does a franchise cost? And this is a big one, because, honestly, they're not cheap. So here's some of the things that you need to think about. The franchise basic cost structure is this. You have the franchise fee, which is the upfront payment the minute that you sign on the dotted line, that is made by you to the franchisor in order to obtain the rights to operate a franchise under their brand and system. It can range, depending on the franchise, it can range from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands of dollars. And that is an upfront payment. That is not a payment plan. That is not, hey, can I put a deposit down and, pay the additional later? That is a cashier's check, and you've got to pay it all up front. And then you've got startup costs, as with any business. So if you've purchased a franchise that needs a brick and mortar, that needs an actual location, then you have to find real estate, and you're going to have to negotiate your lease. And then you may have to do some build out. And there's a lot of franchises like, Kumon, Ace, even UPS, McDonald's, Subway. They have very specific build outs, and they're going to tell you what you can and cannot do. So you have to factor in what that cost of the build out will be. In addition to any inventory purchasing that you need to make, equipment such as printers, computers, POS systems, all of that kind of thing, and your own marketing. Yes, the franchisor may market, but they're going to market from a national perspective. You have to have money, and this will be built into your contract, by the way. you have to spend a certain amount of money every year on local marketing. And when you have a grand opening, there's usually a lump sum that you have to, pay out to do local marketing. So you have to factor all of that in. And then there's ongoing costs. So once you're up and running, you're going to have royalties. They will take a percentage of royalties off your gross profit. So before you even pay anything out, they don't do it off of net. They're going to do it off of gross. So it could be anywhere from 2% to 5% royalties off of your gross profits. They are also going to have marketing fees, what they typically call a marketing fund or brand fund fee, which is also a percentage of your gross. That is in addition to the local marketing that you're going to need to do. There's going to be renewal costs if you decide to renew your contract with them. And then technology fees, which a lot of franchisees don't even think about, but a lot of the systems and processes that you need to use are going to be dictated to you by the franchisor. And you have to pay additional for that. Your franchise fee doesn't cover that. So you may end up paying anywhere from $200 to $500 a month in technology fees. And finally, and this one's the most important, whether you purchase a franchise or you start your own business, you have to have working capital. After all of these other fees, you need money to keep you afloat while you're in a startup phase. And what I tell everyone is you should have at least 2 years worth of working capital. That means you've got to have 2 years worth of your rent, of your royalties, your marketing costs, your labor costs, whatever it may be. You need to have 2 years worth. I have seen new franchisees where they ran out of money a year in and they weren't profitable yet. So you need to have a cushion so that you can be comfortable and work on the business and not worry about running out of money. So how do I fund my franchise purchase? There are multiple ways to do this. And it's really interesting now at this point. If you have a 401k, you can actually use that. Now, there are parameters in place about how you can use those funds. So you definitely want to get with a financial advisor on how you would pull your savings out in order to fund this franchise purchase and, working capital and all of that. There are traditional bank loans. And as I said before, they typically love franchises because they know it's a much safer bet than, starting a business from scratch. There are SBA loans, and lucky you have a great entity here with score.org that can really walk you through an SBA loan. SBA loans typically have a lot more kind of red tape, but that's okay because usually interest rates are a lot lower with an SBA loan than they are with a traditional bank loan. Then you have your friends and family loans. You have been talking this up with all of your friends and family, and they're willing to chip in and see your vision come to fruition. So you have to be a little careful about it. You will want to get it in writing because the last thing you want to do is have friends and family give you money to start up a business. And if it goes sideways, you might ruin some relationships and you don't want to do that. So I always recommend getting a lawyer involved and making sure that everything is written and in some kind of informal contract. Then there's finally investors. If you're looking for a really big purchase, and by that I mean you probably have seen Goldfish Academy or Big Blue Swim School. Perhaps these are, franchises that you're like, I love swimming. I was a lifeguard. I want to open one of these. They are not cheap to open. The build outs on them can be, $500,000 and up. So what I've seen a lot of franchisees do is that bring on investors so that, the investors will also, kick their money in, and then they're going to expect some kind of a return on their investment Again, this is where an attorney comes in, and you really want to make sure it's all squared away and it's all in writing so that everybody is very clear about how much money is changing hands here and what the return on investment is going to be. And then finally, some franchisors, not all, but some will actually offer you financing. It's kind of like when you go buy a car, right? You may have your own financing, but of course, the dealership wants to offer you their financing because guess what? That's where they make their most money, right? So franchisors often will have financing as well. They'll have financing options. They will be working with a specific bank, and they will be able to, kind of offer you, depending on your specific situation. It's always good to ask them, even if they don't have franchisor financing, you can ask them, they may be working with banks, that work with their specific franchise with a whole bunch of their franchisees. It's always good to ask. But all of these things, again, you need to be very thoughtful. You need to understand how much money you're going to need. As you talk to the franchisor and as you talk to franchisees, the franchisor is going to give you they're going to give you a range of what it costs to open something. That's why you need to talk to franchisees, because they're going to tell you exactly how much it costs for them to open. And you need to know that, because here at the end of the day, and I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from purchasing a franchise, because I still think it's a great business model. It's just at the end of the day, the franchisor wants another location. So, they have to be very forthcoming about certain things. Absolutely. And you also need to be prepared to ask questions. And sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, but that's why you talk to franchisees, because they will tell you. Okay. So please remember, purchasing a franchise, it is not easy. You need to know that it is not an easy button. It's not like, oh, I'm going to purchase, an Ace Hardware and I'm just going to be rolling in the money. It's not easy. It takes up a lot of your time, money, and resources to set your business up to be successful. So please do your homework. Don't rush into it. That franchise is still going to be there no matter what. So make sure that you do your homework and your research before you sign on the dotted line. So just to recap for this evening, finding your why, and whether you purchase a franchise or you want to start your own business, this is really important because it really is going to kind of color the way that you will do your business, the way that you fall in love with your business on days that sometimes it's not very lovable. So finding your why is really important. Building your plan. What is your plan? Have you talked to your significant other, your, parents, your children, whatever? You need to get buy-in and build a plan. Once you've done that, you have to do your research. And every franchise is different. They all cost different things. I wish I could tell you exactly, how much you're going to spend, but I don't know because every franchise is different. So as you do your research and you start to narrow it down to maybe 2 to 3 different franchises, then you need to figure out what you can afford and where that money is going to come from. So here's a few resources as you start to go down this path. The Franchise Business Review is great. They are actually an online kind of magazine, if you will, and they review businesses just like, there's people who review restaurants. The Franchise Business Review will review franchises and tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. So it's a really great resource as you start to do your research. Franchise Direct and the National Franchise Directory are exactly that. They are directories. They're really great because they can distill it down. If, 38% of you are really looking to get into educational franchises, you can simply put in educational franchises to both of these and they'll bring up all of them. Now, a word to the wise though. The first 10 that you see that come up, They've been sponsored, meaning that those franchisors have paid money to be high up on that list. Okay. So make sure that you scroll through all of them. Make sure that you read what each one offers, what the costs are associated, how many locations do they have. That's really important. You know, a lot of franchises, you know, McDonald's, oh my gosh, they've got thousands, right? But if you want to do something like Code Whiz, which is a little education coding system for kids, they have like 22 locations. Doesn't mean that they're a bad franchise to purchase. It just means that they're really young and they only have so many locations. So, you know, if you want to be part of kind of, you know, on the cutting edge of something, it's really great. But if you're expecting a ton of support, you have to really think about that. So the larger a franchise is, the more support they're going to offer. The smaller, they just won't have as much support. Doesn't mean that it's the wrong decision. Just know that you're going into it with not as much support. So that's really it. If you're interested in pursuing a franchise, or you would like a copy of this slide deck, please email me. I am happy to, you know, send the slide deck to you. I'm happy to discuss franchises with you if it's something that you really are looking to do. You know, but please feel free to reach out. You can see here, I've got my email here, and I think we're going to put it in the chat too, right, John? So we'll kind of do that too.
Yep. I'm
Great.
putting it in there now, Paige.
Okay, perfect. And then we're at the Q&A section. I did it in 45.
Good for you. You may be able to turn your video on now, Paige.
Okay, let's see. It is just, oh, there I am. Well, I'm sorry, everybody.
There you go.
Here I am. But let's see. Oh, we've got
So we have some questions here. So the first one is, what are some things to consider when buying an existing franchise versus a new franchise?
I'm assuming a new franchise, like a smaller franchise. Is that what I'm assuming?
I believe what this is sometimes franchisors or franchisees want to sell their business.
Ah,
So you're
okay.
buying
Yep.
from a person as opposed to the franchisor, maybe, and I think so. Does that make sense?
It totally does. So, yes, if you are looking to purchase a franchise and you're like, look, I really don't want to have to go through the build out. I don't want to, you know, do all of that stuff. You absolutely should look at purchasing an existing franchise. There are many really great reasons to do so. One is, it's already built. You don't have to do anything. It already has a staff, which you may have to kind of, you know, really get to know all of them and determine whether or not they're staying or, you know, going, whatever it may be. They already have income coming in. They already have a customer base, which is great. Here's the caveat to that though. Okay. They may have a customer base, but they may be selling because they may not be that profitable. And there could be multiple reasons why they're not that profitable. It could be they've had a family thing and they just haven't spent any time on the business. It could be they did not do their marketing and get out into the community and get to meet everybody and get to know people. It could be that they didn't have enough financial runway. You know, there's lots of reasons, or they're done. They've been in it for 10 years. They want to retire now or do something else, and they just want to exit the business. So you want to find out exactly why. And if it's a business that is not doing great, then there's room for negotiation there, which is really what you want to do. You want to be able to negotiate the purchase price. So I would, you know, I think it's a great option. I think there is a website called, there's a website specific for franchisees who are looking to sell their locations. I want to say it's Biz by something or other, sale or something. I can't remember. I'll have to think of it. But if you just Google it, I'm sure it will come right up. But you do want to make sure, what is going on with that franchise. They have to disclose legally. They have to disclose everything. They have to give you a P&L. You can go through all of their, paperwork and all of their accounts, see what people are being paid. So you want to do your homework as much there, purchasing an existing franchise. It could be too that their location just simply isn't very good. If they purchased or they got real estate, but it's kind of a hard to find place, or maybe it's hard to park and people can't find parking near there. Here in Chicagoland in particular, parking is a big deal. If there's not any other services around it so that they can, especially like if it's a kid's thing, can mom go to the grocery store while her kid goes and gets a swim lesson or whatever it may be? So you want to really take a look at all of that, but I think it's a great idea, to take a look. Now, conversely, if you start from scratch on your own, then you get to determine your rent. You get to determine the location. You get to do the build out, all that kind of thing. So it's really what what is going to kind of suit your lifestyle more, if you will. But those are a lot of things to consider.
And I do know, I believe that some people sell through business brokers as well.
They do. They do. So you will see, if you've been looking into this at all, there are franchise brokers who also call themselves franchise consultants. A little bit of a buyer beware there, though. You don't pay them for anything and they will advise you for sure. But here's the thing, they get paid on the back end by the franchisor. So basically, that broker has a whole stable of franchisors that they work with. And so while they say that they're going to really help you determine what the best one is for you, and some of them have a really good heart and they want to see you be successful, they're going to point you towards the people that they work with, because that franchise fee that we talked about, they could get up to 50% of that franchise fee when you sign on the dotted line. That's why they're free, because once you purchase that franchise, half of that fee goes to the broker, which is an even bigger fee than like a real estate agent. So just beware. I think some franchise brokers are great. I think others are not so great. There are franchise consultants out there who do not work for franchisors at all, which means that you're paying them directly. But then, they're basically like Switzerland. They're neutral. They just want to help you find the best thing for you. They're not looking for the next buyer for their franchisor, if that makes sense.
Right. And the next question that we have is about being a franchisor, I believe. So the question is, how do you become a franchisor? Besides being a proven system, is there a manual or a book to learn about doing that?
Well, you have to have a great business model, first of all. So you do have to have a proven system. You should already have your operations manual up and, written. It has to be this really cool idea. There are companies out there that look to franchise businesses that you can go to and say, I'm looking to franchise my business, and they can help you do that. There's some pros and cons to it. That way you can franchise your business and someone is helping you do that. You'll still want to have a franchise attorney help you out with all of this to ensure that nothing goes awry. They will want a contract, and they will want a portion of the royalties that you, if you become the franchisor, would get. They're going to want a portion of those royalties. So you have to kind of determine if that's going to be what you want. Like I said, there's some really good companies out there that will do that, but you should have all of your ducks lined up in a row for your business, because then if you've shown that you've got a great operations manual, that you've got solid training for employees, that you have a solid customer base, that you have a great product, good marketing, all those it makes it a lot easier for one of these companies to say, yes, we will help you franchise. If you don't have those things already done, they're going to come in and do it for you. And it may not be what you want. It may not be, it's your business, it's your baby. I have a really good friend of mine who's got an amazing little business in Florida. And she was talking to me, she wanted to be, and I was like, please, please don't do that. It's a beautiful little business. You know, and I know her, I know that she's got high standards. And you know, I don't ultimately, she decided it wasn't going to be for her. But a lot of people do it. There's a lot of franchises out there, you know, so you just, again, this is where you have to do your research and look at the companies who can do this kind of thing.
And just a follow-on question for me on that, it is, I'm thinking you have a business and you want to franchise it, right? Shouldn't you first open up a second location or a third
Yeah,
location?
I mean,
So
really,
that you
yes,
can
you're
learn
absolutely
all
right,
of those things?
John. Yeah, because then it becomes like a proven model, right? If
Correct.
you just got one really great location, awesome. Can you replicate it? Because that's what some of these companies are going to look at. They're going to look at it and go, is it replicable?
Mhm.
That's really important, you know, or is your great one, you know, your great store, your great whatever is great because you're there every single day and you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. And that's why it's great. But then if you start to open a second or third location and customer service goes down because you're not doing it every day, you've had to hire people, you know, maybe your training wasn't that great because you are not a great trainer. Nothing wrong with that, but it is much easier to go to one of these companies if you've already got 2 or 3 locations and they're all doing well.
Yeah, I mean, that just seemed like a logical next step as opposed to jumping into franchising. If you only have one location, you know, there's lots and lots of different things that happen once you replicate something.
That's right. It's
Um,
a proof of concept,
yeah,
right?
right.
So, you know, you've got 3 locations and they're all killing it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Then you
then you're
prove the
gone. Yeah,
concept.
yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
Great
in
point.
terms, oh, sorry, one of the things you mentioned was a franchise attorney. Is
Mhm.
that mostly for people that want to create a franchise, or are they also
No.
to help, would they also help you decide if you want to
To
purchase a
purchase
franchise?
one. Yes, because here's the thing, when you decide to purchase a franchise, you have to sign a contract and it can be very, very long. And you want a franchise attorney, not a regular attorney, not somebody who does wills or probates or anything like that. They must be a franchise attorney because they're going to be able to look at that contract and go line by line with you to determine whether the contract is in your favor or not. So conversely, you can also use them if you're looking to franchise, you've already got a few locations, they can also point you in the right direction on how to actually get out there and franchise it as well. So, you know, you don't need these big companies to franchise your business. You could do it yourself, but here's the thing. You're going to have to put a lot of money into it because you're going to have to start selling. You're going to have to go to all of the franchise conventions and get a table and sell your franchise, you know, or if you're not going to sell it, then you got to find somebody who will. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but you definitely need to have a franchise attorney take a look at the contract. And also, there's a very important document called the Franchise Disclosure Document, the FDD. That from the franchisor, they have to give that to you. It is required by law. It basically gives you a ton of accounting and really the fiscal health of the franchisor, as well as if they have been in had franchisees sue them for some reason, right? It happens. You know, all of that has to be listed. It is a huge document and legally they were required to disclose all of this information. You can read it, but having a franchise attorney read it, they can point out this might be an issue here, or this is really great. So you definitely want to bring a franchise attorney on board sooner rather than later so that they can help you determine whether the franchise is worthy of your time and attention and money, or perhaps you need to keep looking.
And you know that to me that's another startup cost.
It
If you're
is.
looking at doing a franchise, and an additional startup cost in most cases or in many cases would be an accountant to
Yes.
help you understand what the financial statements are that you're getting. So let's say you want to open up a music store or you want to open up a swimming class. You're probably not really adept in finance. And so you would probably want to get a financial person that's an expert in that. And I'm assuming that there are certain accounting groups or
Mhm.
people that specialize in franchise, just as there are attorneys. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, because
Hmm?
it's the same P&L and the same balance sheet as a normal business would be.
Okay.
So you don't have to go with a company that just does franchises. But it's interesting, that you said that that you may not be able to read a balance. I find, or most of the franchisees that I have worked with, believe it or not, are great on the financial side. Where they lack is, first of all, the people skills. I hate to say it. And because they may not have great people skills or hire the right people or anything, then that in turn really hurts their marketing and sales.
Yeah.
So there's three buckets to it. It's definitely the financial acumen, the people skills, the soft skills, if you will, and then your sales and marketing. And if 2 and 3 are lacking, it doesn't matter if you can, like, read a P&L and, do that, because you need the other 2 to even have the finances to be the financial guru for your business, if you will.
No, you're absolutely right. I think marketing, and not only marketing, but sales is a key element for any business that's starting. So, one of the big, in effect, challenges of people starting a business is that they need to sell and they need to market whatever it is that they're doing. And in order to do that, they need to have a unique value proposition. There's a whole series of things that go on here. But one more question. Are there, I know that there are a lot of different associations. Are there franchise associations that might help you evaluate or find a franchise attorney or not?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Unfortunately, once you become a franchisee, you may be part of a larger, usually they'll have associations within that specific
In that
franchise.
industry, yeah.
Right. But this is where franchise consultants come in. They can help you find those people. They can help
Okay.
you find lenders. They can help you find a franchise attorney. They can help you find a franchise broker. This is really where the consultants come in and kind of help you with all of that. And again, you can Google it, or you can call me, because I'll be happy to help you find any of those people. I have a little list, the folks that I would really recommend. So, you definitely have to do your homework. And if you don't have the time or energy, then I really do highly suggest you get a consultant, so that they can do the groundwork for you and then present you with options. And then, you can go from there.
Paige, this has been very interesting. Thank you. We've gotten several comments about the thoroughness of what you have presented. I think you've cleared up certainly some misconceptions, maybe that I had about franchises as well, and I'm not even interested in buying one. But it was very helpful, and thank you very much for doing this. Would you put the last slide on? I think we have an upcoming
Yes, we do.
presentation
Let me get it.
here on October 19th. We have a nonprofit 101. Is a nonprofit right for my business? And so please join us for that. If you want to register for that, simply go to our website at score.org/North Chicago. And once again, Paige, I thank you very much for what you have presented here. It is, like I said, very interesting and very helpful. So thanks a lot. And we put your information, your email into the chat. So if people want to, I believe they can save the chat if they want to save that, as opposed to quickly writing everything down. But there you go. Thanks a lot. And we will see everyone. Thanks everyone for attending. And we will see some of you again at our next webinar. Thanks a
Thanks
lot.
all.